There's a little voice in your head that sounds like truth, and that voice can be a real trickster. It tells you to just work harder. It whispers, you just need more motivation. And it convinces you that staying positive means you're making progress even when you're actually stuck. But if hard work, motivation, and positive thinking really worked, most of us would have been billionaires with 12-pack abs by now. You're not the problem, the rules are. I'm talking about the mindset rules we've all been taught. The ones that sound good in theory, have been recycled for decades, and disguised as wisdom. So today, we're flipping 5 of the biggest ones that sound inspiring, but quietly sabotage your growth and turning them into shifts that actually work in real life. And flip number 4, that's the one that finally loosened the grip of my perfectionism. So if you wrestle with that too, stick around for that one. What's up, it's your girl Kesha B, your resident mediocrity escapologist, and I've lived these mindset traps too. I used to think that more effort and more motivation were the fix until I realized those rules were part of the problem. So if you're tired of doing everything right and still feeling stuck, grab your drink, get comfy, and let's flip some scripts. All right, let's get into it. And we're starting with the big one, the rule that sounds empowering on the surface, but quietly messes with almost everyone. Always think positive. You've heard the phrases, just stay positive, keep your vibes high, no bad days. Cute idea, but try telling that to someone running on fumes who just got chewed out by her boss and whose kids are auditioning for America's Got Attitude. I mean, who can stay positive in that lineup? That's the problem. When we force ourselves to stay positive, we start ignoring what our emotions are actually trying to tell us. We try to erase the frustration, the stress, the anger. But in doing that, we also erase the messages those feelings are carrying. Your feelings are not flaws, they're feedback. They're basically your inner GPS saying something here needs attention, boo-boo. A few years ago, I tried to positive think my way through a career that was slowly draining me until I realized that my frustration wasn't negativity, it was information. I kept forcing myself to think positive, saying, girl, be grateful, you're getting paid. Everything's fine. Meanwhile, my body was screaming, no, boo, everything's not fine. That tension, that frustration, that quiet anxiety, that was my system saying, this chapter is over. If I'd ignored those feelings, I'd probably still be sitting here pixel pushing my way through another soul draining project. So here's the flip. Stop trying to just think positive all the time and start getting curious instead. Because the goal isn't to eliminate negative emotions, it's to understand them. So here's your challenge. When you feel something heavy or negative, take 5 minutes and ask it questions. What are you trying to tell me? What are you protecting? What needs to change here? And then listen. That's how you move from toxic positivity to true alignment. Because the moment you stop judging your emotions and start decoding them, they stop running your life from the shadows. So now that you've gotten honest about what your emotions are saying, there's only one question left. What are you going to do about it? And that's where the next mindset trap kicks in, the one that keeps you waiting on motivation. Now listen, motivation is cute and all, but let's be real. It's like the friend who always says, girl, I'm on my way, and never shows up. You see, motivation only shows up when it's convenient, disappears when it's hard, and if you build your goals around it, you'll be waiting forever. For example, if I only went to the gym when I felt motivated, baby, I'd still be sitting on the couch thinking about finding my gym shoes. So here's the flip. I don't wait for motivation. I got a system. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays are my movement days, period. Motivation doesn't get a vote. Sunday me already decided. See, the system removes any mental negotiation. It takes motivation out of the driver's seat and hands the keys over to consistency. So here's your challenge. Take that one thing you've been meaning to do when you feel like it. Set a timer for 2 minutes. That's it. Do something, anything for 2 little old minutes. Write 1 sentence. Do 5 squats. Open that doc and just rename the file. It's not about finishing. It's about proving you can start without motivation. Because motivation doesn't create action. Action creates motivation. And once you get that, you become unstoppable. Now, once you stop waiting to feel motivated, you realize something powerful. You don't need massive moves to create momentum. You just need small, simple actions you can actually stick with. Which brings me to rule number 3, the rule that sounds bold and motivating, but quietly sets you up for burnout. Go big or go home. Sounds inspiring, right? But for a lot of people, go big usually just means go frozen. Because when the goal feels massive, your brain doesn't get hyped. It hits the brakes. That's why the flip here isn't shrinking your dreams. It's shrinking the size of your steps until your nervous system says, yeah, okay, I can do that. I call it the 2% rule. Instead of chasing huge leaps that overwhelm you, focus on small steps that compound over time. That's exactly how I turned my mornings around. I used to swear I wasn't a morning person, but instead of trying to wake up 2 hours earlier all at once, I started with 15 minutes, enough to stretch, journal, and sip my tea before opening my computer. And you know what? That tiny change felt good. So good that 15 minutes turned into 30, then 45. Now my mornings are my calm, sacred space, not the mad dash they used to be. The 2% rule works because it's unintimidating. It doesn't trigger resistance, it builds trust. So here's your challenge: take one goal that feels too big, too far out, or too heavy, and ask yourself, what's the 2% version of this I can actually do this week? If it's getting fit, maybe it's a 10-minute walk. If it's saving money, maybe it's $5 in a jar. If it's decluttering, maybe it's just that one junk drawer that you need to clean out. The point isn't how much you can do, it's that you start. Because small steps done consistently don't just add up, they build confidence. And confidence is the quiet kind of momentum that turns into magic. Okay, now you're finally moving, you're building momentum, and then out of nowhere, bam, that inner critic taps you on that shoulder and whispers, better make it perfect, or people are watching. Which brings me to rule number 4, the rule that sounds responsible but secretly keeps you stuck. Do it right or don't do it at all. We've all heard it. It's the rule that disguises perfectionism as excellence. But here's the thing: perfectionism doesn't protect your standards, it paralyzes your progress. Because doing it right often becomes don't produce it until it's perfect. And when you're waiting for perfect, you never actually start, or you keep redoing the same paralyzing actions over and over. I used to be the queen of this. I'd plan, tweak, polish, and then plan again, and the cycle continued, calling it preparation when it was really procrastination and the cutest little outfit. Truth is, I wasn't scared to start. I was scared to be seen starting. I didn't want people to see me figuring it out, or worse, to think I wasn't good enough. That fear of judgment had me perfecting in private instead of progressing in public. But here's what I learned: your first version is supposed to be messy. That's not failure, that's feedback. Every rough draft, every awkward video, every imperfect rep is data that gets you closer to great. So the flip here is simple: stop chasing perfect, start chasing progress. Set a good enough bar, maybe 70%. Hit that, release it, and move on. Because people who win aren't the ones who get it perfect. They're the ones who keep iterating while everyone else is still editing. So your challenge right now: pick one thing you've been over perfecting. Post it, publish it, send it, share it at whatever stage good enough looks like for you. Because guess what? You can always edit later. You can always iterate later. Remember, progress beats perfection every single time. And speaking of progress, now that you're out there making moves and creating instead of perfecting, you're going to run straight into the next mindset trap, the one that makes most people quit right when things are starting to work. Which brings me to rule number 5, the one that sounds smart but ultimately keeps you scared. Avoid failure. Reality check: if you're a human out here in these streets actually doing things in life, you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna mess up. Something's not gonna go right. But we've been trained to avoid failure like it's the plague and treat it like it's the enemy, as proof that we weren't good enough, ready enough, or talented enough. But that belief keeps you from the very thing that actually creates growth: trying, testing, learning, and adjusting. When you avoid failing, you also avoid learning. So here's the flip: failure isn't final, it's feedback. This is why I started what I call my failure resume. It's literally a list of every flop, fumble, and facepalm moment I've had and what it taught me. And let me tell you, this list, way longer than my regular resume. Like that online course that sold 0 copies, taught me to validate before building. That partnership that exploded, taught me to clarify vision before signing anything. That investment that tanked, taught me to trust my research, not someone else's hype. Every failure carries receipts, data, wisdom, resilience. That's the thing about failure: it's the universe saying, not that way, try again. Most people fail once and make it mean something about who they are. But it's not about your identity, it's simply information. When you see it that way, every L turns into a lesson and the fear starts to lose its grip. So here's your challenge: start your own failure resume. Write 3 things that didn't go the way you hoped. And next to each one, write what it taught you. Over time, you'll start to see it. You've bounced back way more than you've given yourself credit for. So stop trying to avoid failure and start documenting it. Because people who win aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who learn faster because they fail. So here's the thing: mindset work isn't about feeling good all the time. It's about getting real with yourself, seeing what's actually keeping you stuck, and having the courage to do something different. These 5 flips work together like ingredients in a recipe. You listen to your emotions instead of ignoring them. You move without waiting for motivation. You take smaller, doable steps that build momentum. You release perfection and let progress lead. And when you stumble, you turn failure into feedback. That's how real transformation happens, not overnight, but over time through repetition and honesty. So now it's your turn. Pick one of these flips, just one, the one that made you go, oh yeah, I need that. Commit to trying it for the next 7 days. Drop the word shift in the comments and tell me which one you're working on. I'll be in there cheering you on. And hey, if this video helped you see things differently, go ahead and do all those boss YouTube things so it reaches somebody else who needs it. Also, if you ever catch yourself cruising through Stuck City or taking the exit to Overthinker's Lane, grab my free Escapers Emergency Kit. Your quick reference cheat sheet packed with core tools to help you bounce back in under 10 minutes. It's linked for you in the description below. Now, my fellow escaper, go be your own kind of different. Toodles!